Better eyes than me. I didn't see it.
Hello everybody, Cam here and welcome back to Chasing Tales. We are up again hunting with my dad, and the weather cooled down a lot over the last day or so. So we decided to get out in the woods, and as you saw earlier, we had a buck right up by the truck, so I'm thinking it's going to be a good night to sit out and try to get another buck to fill his second tag of the season. And as we were walking in, we had a ton of scrapes that were freshened up, so hopefully that's a good sign.
Shortly after we got into the blind, it started to snow, so we thought this would be a good sign for the deer to start moving. Once the snow finally decided to start to calm down, we actually started to have some movement, and this small buck came out on the trail about 40 yards away. At this point, we were just hoping that this was not the buck that was freshening up all the scrapes that I mentioned earlier. We were hoping that a bigger one would soon follow him. And once he went off the trail right here, we did not see anything for quite some time. After the deer finally decided to start to move again, this strange doe came out, and I'm not exactly sure what is wrong with its ear, but I will zoom in a little bit so you can actually see what I am talking about. And as you can see right here, she had at least one other doe following her. And as you can see right behind her right here, there's another deer that actually came out on the trail behind her as we were watching the other deer. We were about to get a better view on this doe, and as you can see right here, its right ear actually seems to have no muscle at all. Usually deer can kind of point their ears in a certain direction to be able to hear in a certain direction better, and this seems to have no motion in its right ear. And I'm honestly not too sure what would cause this. And as you can see, it really has no motion of that ear whatsoever. So if you have a suggestion on what might have caused this, leave that down in the comment section below. And as we were watching this doe, two more does began to move into the trail. And as you can see right here, an even bigger doe came out up the trail. A lot of time passed without us seeing anything at all, and finally we had some movement up the trail just before dark.
That's enough. Yeah.
and there was actually another doe behind it, if you could see that in that little opening right there, but it never made its way to the main trail. But this was sadly the last 2 deer that we saw throughout the night, but we did give it another try the next night, and we decided to sit in my blind this time to try our luck there because there was a lot of evidence of deer, and we were hoping that there would be a big buck in the area. But this unfortunately did not seem to be the case very early in our hunt because these 2 does were the first thing we saw in quite some time after getting into the blind. We are not necessarily sure what was pushing them or why they were so on edge, but these 2 does were the only thing that came running through, and they did not want to stick around for very long. But I was somewhat happy because I thought my suggestion was going to be a big flop because we went a very long time without seeing anything, and I'm glad we did not get skunked due to my suggestions. After the does disappeared, this group of tom turkeys was the first thing we saw in quite a while. And I did hear a few gobbles earlier in the evening before these turkeys came out, so I tried to get some on camera for you guys to see, but unfortunately, they did not want to cooperate. Once all the turkeys made their way through, we did not see anything for quite some time. We then had some deer and actually a buck run behind us, but we could not get them to come out in front of us, and they disappeared. Then finally, these 3 does came out to where we could catch them on camera. I was hoping that the buck that chased through earlier would follow these does in so that we could get a better look at it to see if it was a shooter or not. But as the does made their way towards us, we did not see anything following in their tracks. And as you can tell by the time lapse right here, the deer were actually by us for quite some time, and they finally made their way to a main trail. But it turns out our wind was blowing straight down this main trail, so the deer got spooked. These 3 does did not move very far though, and then 2 other does decided to move in as the 3 does just stood there off in the distance. And as more time began to pass, more deer started to filter in and out, but all of them seemed to be quite on edge due to the other deer that had ran earlier. But then we ran out of light.
Thank you for sticking around until the very end of this video. I appreciate it a lot. I'm sorry we aren't seeing many bucks right now, but I did figure out how to fix my trail camera, so I got that back out in the woods. I'm trying to figure out when they're moving, what they're doing, and where they're at, and if there is any big bucks still out there. So come back for my next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.